All right, in this video, we're gonna attempt your first challenge where you're going to be creating a custom class. So let's dive into it. I want you to create a program where you add students to a database. Assume that maybe you've been hired for a university where they want you to create some software where you need student information. So looking at this problem right here, you probably need to ask yourself, what does it mean to be a student? What defines a student? So you will probably want a custom class that represents a student and use it as a blueprint for all students. I would like you to create at least 3 students using a constructor, and then transition it to be able to add students through the inspector in the editor. You're probably, for this challenge, going to need 2 classes, a student database, which holds the student information, and a student class, which defines what a student is. You can do this with 2 scripts or with one where you have 2 classes within one. It's totally up to you how you structure this. Here are the traits of a student I would like to have. Let's say first name, last name, age, and their grade level. Ooh, and maybe let's go their GPA. Cool. That's the whole challenge. You can pause the video here and try to complete this as best you can. And no worries if you're here to just sort of see how it's solved. I'm about to show you a solution right now. Okay, so let's get into it. We're trying to add students to a database, 3 of them using a constructor, and then transition it to be able to add them through the inspector in the editor. These are the 5 traits that we're looking for. So let's dive in. Dude, I have so many extra scripts in here, but it's cool. I'm gonna right-click the scripts folder and create a new mono-behavior script. And I'm gonna call this student database. I'm gonna just right-click and create an empty object. And I'm gonna call this student database, and then add that script to the empty object. This object will allow us to create students and store them. The only behavior of this database script is to store the information of students, but students don't exist yet, right? We haven't created a custom class that defines what a student is. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a custom class above here to define a student. So let's create a public class student and just curly brackets to open up. And we know from our instructions that we have a few pieces of information that we want to hold. We want a public string for the first name and the last name. We want a public int for their age and their grade, and a public float for their GPA. Now, we do need to create a constructor that's going to populate each student with the information that they are, right? So we can create an open-ended constructor, and we can just say student and just leave it as that so that we can define it however we want. We can also create a second constructor that takes in parameters. We can say a public student that takes in a string first name, a string last name, an int age, an int grade, and a float GPA. The thing about custom classes is we can totally have multiple constructors. It's great. So inside the curly brackets of the second constructor, we can say this dot first name equals first name. This dot last name equals last name. This dot age equals age. This dot grade equals grade. And lastly, this dot GPA equals GPA. Love it. Now with this constructor, it's going to automatically populate the student information through those parameters and assign it through this constructor. So back in our student database script right down here, let's actually start to create some students. So we're going to need a method for this, and then above we can declare each student. So let's say up here, we're going to say student Anna. And in start, we can say Anna equals a new student. And I can pass in the information. And look, it's the same parameters that we just created above. First and last name, age, grade, and float for the GPA. So I'm going to say Anna, and the last name is Banana. She is 8 years old. She's in grade 2, and her GPA is like 3.5 F. This is mad because I accidentally put a period. There's our comma. Cool. And there we go. We've successfully created one student. Let's say we want to create another student. I'm going to say student Nina, and we'll say Nina equals a new student. Their name is Nina. Their last name is Barnes. I don't know. They're 12 years old, 6th grade, and their GPA is a 4.0. Good job, Nina. And lastly, let's create one more student. since our instructions were to create 3 students. So we will say student Stefan, and we will say Stefan equals a new student. The name is Stefan. The last name is Cortez. Sure, he is 15 in 9th grade, and his GPA is a 3.2F. So now that we've made these 3 students, let's transition it to be able to add students through the inspector in the editor, right? So that we don't have to do it all like this. In our student class, in order to see students in the inspector, we have to add this attribute up at the top here called system.serializable. This allows us to see students in the inspector. So back in our database, these students here, let's make them public. Public student Anna, public student Nina, and public student Stefan. So let's go ahead and save everything. And in our student database, we now have Anna, Nina, and Stefan. Remember that this information will be empty, but because of the way we wrote it in our script, the moment we hit play, their information should populate. And there we go. All of the information exists. Anna Banana, Nina Barnes, and Stefan Cortez. Perfect. If for some reason your script is not populating with data like this, make sure that you didn't actually make a student inherit mono behavior. If you do that, it's gonna break. Look how different this looks now. It's no longer a custom class the way we built it. We can hit play and it doesn't populate with any information. So make sure that student is a custom class, no mono behavior. Student database is a class with mono behavior. Cool. This is because mono behaviors, just so that you know the reason behind this, mono behaviors cannot have constructors, and we need this constructor for our custom class. So hopefully you're getting a little bit more familiar with creating custom classes. In the next video, we will have another challenge to get you some more hands-on practice creating custom classes. All right, see you in the next one.